One.
Rock concert movement number 1. The basic head bob. Ready, go.
Hello. Can't hear me. Am I on? Voice. Hey, there I am. Okay, I can't hear you. Dare to be stupid. All right, Brad Show with you. 1:30 on a Monday afternoon. It was a dark and stormy early afternoon. Anyone else who had the misfortune to find themselves on I-235? When I first came into downtown this morning, it was about 7:30. And you would have thought we were driving through an ice storm or something, the way people were, doing like 40 down the end. Like, it's fog, all right? Yes, it's not ideal, but you can see 10 feet in front of you for the car. Yes, in rural and low-lying areas, I understand it's bad, but it's one thing to be cautious. It's another to be overly timid, and we crossed the line today. Busy day. Lots of stuff to get to. Another gang of insert number here. It's a neat little gimmick that is of particular use in the Senate. And this time it's the Gang of 8. Igniting a GOP civil war. But maybe they have found a solution to the 67% problem, which I will explain in a bit. Words I don't use often. You got to give it to the South. I know. All right? No, we're not talking about... No. It's a special drinking fountain for you. They have actually...
It's like custom bus seats,
Yeah, these are special seats.
These are custom. They're designed.
They should have been an exit row, and then it would have been like highly coveted.
Well, now that they do the doors on some of the back of the big buses, I don't know that sitting in the back is such a big deal, but
they actually found a use for the Tea Party.
Nobody has found a use for the Tea Party.
Oh, that is where you're wrong.
No, unless your use is to push out some crazy, offhand, helter-skelter point of view and then turn it down by itself.
You're on to something there. Interesting plan in Kentucky. And the entire, I don't know if I'll have time for it, but the entire male population is looking at Subway and going, what's the big deal? I'll explain. But, of course, the big news over the weekend, an icon, a public servant of the highest order, won't be with us in the future. And, of course, I'm speaking of Sarah Palin not getting her Fox News contract renewed. And that didn't last long, did it? Who had a longer 15 minutes of fame? Smash Mouth or Sarah Palin? Trying to figure that one out. I don't know what the deal. I mean, someone like Ann Coulter or Michelle Malkin has turned that skill set, and we'll use that term loosely, into years and years and years. You're talking decade plus of, not offering anything of substance. Basically, the pundit version of White Castle. But man, Sarah Palin did not last long on her own. Almost 4 years exactly. It wasn't that long ago, and she was still getting rubes, dupes, and marks to send her checks, to think about making a run for the presidency. Then went on a bus tour to raise money. And we'll get to the Harkin news because that is the big news of the day. But just something I've noticed because I ingest way too much right-wing media. I don't think it's a big secret the radio business is in trouble these days. And part of that reason is for years now, as people have moved away from music. at least on the radio. That's why I got into talk. What killed my, radio music career, where I got my start, was buying an iPod and realizing there was no program director on earth who could put together a better list of music than me. And now everyone has one of these things. Now it comes on your phone, your iPad, your iPod.
Wirelessly to your car.
The Bluetooth connection is a beautiful and glorious thing. I don't know, maybe I was ahead of the curve a decade ago with the little FM transmitter. You would plug into my iPod mini, which still works, by the way. I still use it. It's an actual mechanical hard drive. It's not the flash. That was the first of the small iPods. But I'm not much of a music geek, so 4 gigs fits most of what I need for driving around to music. But one of the buttresses, one of the things that's kind of kept audience erosion at bay was this huge talk radio audience that is now starting to dwindle. I think one of the big problems that these guys have to face is, if you flip on back, I mean, I know he's not on the radio here anymore, but you pick Hannity, Limbaugh, even the lesser also-rans like a Mike Gallagher or a Mike Huckabee, and they all are talking about the same thing. You can go from one show to the next, and they are all talking about the same thing.
Which you can read in 15 minutes on The Drudge.
Well, not just that, but it's part. They live in this reality they create around themselves. So it's not just, here are loud personalities and boisterous voices giving, their take on the issues of the day. Because, it's a big world out there. There's literally billions of things to talk about. But in the right-wing bubble, there's the outrage of the day.
Sure. And then the outrage of the week, and then they covered up with the outrage of the month and year.
But it's all the same. They're not manufacturing a wide enough.
I agree.
Reality.
That's actually, I don't say this very often, but it's the one redeeming quality to Michael Savage, is he would be like, I don't want to talk about any of this. Let's talk about some other issue.
Yeah, I mean, he's got issues.
Yeah, he's got lots of issues. Like I said, that's kind of like your I'm proud of the South moment. This is the one thing about Michael Salvage that I like. He'd be like, I don't want to talk about this. Is stupid. Why are we all talking about this?
He was always big on, I don't talk about guns or abortion or birth certificates.
Well, he'd talk about his gun, but he'd literally talk about his gun. He'd be like, it's really smooth. And
yeah, I mean, Michael Savage, I think, is either one of the greatest performance artists, like an Andy Kaufman of our time. Or someone who has suffered just a complete psychological break. And I don't mean like one of those guys like a Dennis Miller, that 9/11 kind of broke their brain and they went a little Barvey. Michael Weiner is his real name. For years, wrote books about, natural health and healing herbs and spices and crystals and whatever. He used to hang out.
Him and Fallon would probably be buddies.
Yeah. He might have been a little to the wacko side of Fallon. I mean, Ed grows chickens. All right? Chickens are pretty, grow chickens. But you know what I mean.
Yeah, no,
He's got a little garden. I mean, that's pretty normal. He was talking about how, horny goatweed or something will cure emphysema. You can actually buy horny goatweed, by the way. No, I mean, he was like, and then at some point, he hung out with like the neobeat poets of the 1960s. He was buddies with Allen Ginsberg. And at some point, just, again, either figured out this is a way to make money and assumed a character. Michael Savage is the Tony Clifton to Dr. Weiner. Or just had a complete psychological break and the stories I've heard from people who have worked with him, the latter is far more likely. Not a nice person. But yes, does not fall into the kind of tunnel vision that other talk hosts.
Well, that's why I
do.
quit listening.
But I almost feel bad for these guys because what are you going to do? What else are you going to talk about?
Wait till one day when they all have brain farts at the same time.
Well, I mean,
They'll just sit on the air and go.
There will always be a Heritage Foundation or Drudge Report or, even just RNC to produce something for them to be angry about. But it's like, as the world closes in around them, that tunnel vision gets tighter and tighter. And it's hard to listen to, really, the two keys to rating success. Get people to listen horizontally. Listen to Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And vertically, you want them to listen from the time you come on to the time you're done. And you want them to do the same thing with the next show. Time spent listening. And it has to kill that when you've listened to, whoever's on at 9. Right? Just blather on about the same thing. And then when it's almost, the same points in the same manner in the, just with a louder voice, by the time you get to that second or third show, you've heard it. And it just becomes a snooze fest. You know what they're going to talk about. You know exactly what their takes are going to be even before they say it. About the only, real point of intrigue is at what point will one of the hosts finally have a meltdown. And I finally had it explained to me for years. I've been trying to figure out exactly, I know Mark Levin is annoying. It was finally explained to me why. And if you ever make the mistake of listening to a show or get subjected to this, close your eyes, unless you're driving, and imagine. You watch Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Dan?
I'm familiar with it, but I've never watched it.
Oh, Mark Levin is Master Shake having a conniption fit. Master Shake, one of the better.
Yeah, it's the milkshake.
I'm more a Frylock guy myself.
Well,
You kind of remind me of a meatwad. Maybe Carl. Oh, you're wearing the Carl outfit today.
What's that? Tattoos and a white T-shirt?
White T-shirt. You need some sweatpants and flip-flops to go with that.
I try not to wear sweatpants at work. Now, in this industry, since I'm behind the
I'm
desk,
not even wearing pants, so
Yeah.
I don't see what the big deal is.
That's scary.
I'd like to. I breathe, get some fresh air. No, I'm just. Mark Levin is Master Shake having a conniption fit. That's his gimmick. But I almost feel bad for these guys. All right, so we can discuss the pundit demise of Sarah Palin some other time. We'll use small words so that the former half-term idiot governor can understand. In the meantime, and I got to admit, I hedged my bet on this one. I said 2 or 3 years ago, I didn't think both Harkin and Grass, I didn't think they were going to run again. As soon as it became clear, not only had Iowa lost some of our luster in the presidential race, it really started when John McCain didn't even contest Iowa, won the nomination. And the guys like Romney, who dumped millions into the state, got nothing for it. I said at the time that was the canary in a coal mine. A lot of the good fortune of our state has come from that. Things like the Farm Bill. Again, don't want to upset Iowa. The ethanol tax subsidy. Don't want to upset Iowa. And we might need them here in 4 to 8 years. So we want to. That was broken. Hell, now we can't even get a Farm Bill passed. We're lucky to get an extension. And a lot of things that our state has taken for granted aren't in the cards anymore. And a good chunk of the clout that a Harkin or a Grassley wielded in Congress was because of the stature of the Iowa caucuses. And with that diminished, their jobs change. You can argue whether that's a good or a bad thing, but it is a truism. Their jobs have changed. They're both getting up there in years, and I did hedge about a month ago when a friend of mine called me up and said that talk on the town was that the Harkin people were taking a very close look at Obama for America and getting people in the field now to set up that same sort of canvassing organization. So I said, was not expecting that. In addition, with the talk that Congressman Bruce Braley was looking at a run for governor. So you go back about a month and all signs point to Harkin saying, I'm running again, which caught me off guard, but okay, I'm flexible. And then the news broke on Saturday that Tom Harkin says he's not going to run again. He said it's time to step aside. Harkin cited his age as a factor. Said he wanted to usher in a younger, or what was a younger generation of Democrats to seek office, and that just sounds like pablum. But I think we are on the last runs of both Harkin and Grassley. Plus, he'd certainly spent a lot more time recently dealing with, say, the Harkin Institute, his papers. So, Tom Harkin, he's not running again in 2014. Which apparently, now, I guess today is the day. I've already seen 3 members of the State House announce that they're looking at the idea of running for Congress next time around. Tom Latham is said to be investigating a Senate run, which would be a laugh riot. And by all accounts, and this is what's going to shake things up, Bruce Braley will be, I'll call it now, the next Democratic candidate for Senate here in Iowa. So, barring huge catastrophe, it's going to be Braley versus again a Republican to be named later, and we'll see if they actually run someone serious. Do you want to dump a ton of money into a blue state? But we'll see. It'd be interesting to see what happens with Latham running a statewide race. I guarantee you, by the way, Steve King ain't going to run for it. As much as I would love him to, it's simply not going to happen. So what you've seen now is a rush. Who wants to be the next congressman from Iowa 1, which will get a ton of money pumped into it by Republicans. And by all bets, Braley will be the Senate candidate, which then leaves who's going to run for governor? Does this open a door for former Governor Culver to step back in? I haven't heard a lot from the big lug since he left Terrace Hill. And it's not that Culver was a bad governor, because he wasn't.
Doesn't he got a exploratory committee out? Fallon was talking about it earlier. So
he's certainly talking. I don't know if there's an official organization yet, but he's kind of kept his profile low the last couple of years. And I couldn't tell you one way or another, because he was a decent governor. He really was. And I say this as someone who made a lot of Culver jokes. And the raincoat ad was still mind-boggling. But he wasn't a very good politician. You go back to 2006. I had a decent campaign, not great, decent campaign, but again, a lot of hands are shaking, a lot of conversations are had, and a lot of promises were made. Once he won, a lot of those phone calls didn't get returned. A lot of friends were not, friendships were not maintained. And I'm not talking about just, the political payoff sort of thing, but real, the activists, the real, boots on the ground, felt like Governor Culver had left them behind, where candidate Culver was more than happy to sit down and talk. Governor Culver had just had better stuff to do. And I think that part of that did come back and bite him in the butt. It'd be interesting to see if he learned from that. We're not a big one-term governor state, and you get that seat, we'll keep you in it. It took a Branstad to knock him out, and as much as Republicans are going to spend a good chunk of the next year promoting Kim Reynolds is not Terry Branstad. I don't think that's a knock on Kim Reynolds. I don't think that's going to drive her to drink or anything like that. There aren't a whole lot of brands. In fact, I don't even think Terry Branstad these days is Terry Branstad, but that's another topic for another time. But the Harkin move sets up a nice political game of mousetrap here in Iowa. And I think as of today, we can officially say the 2014 season has opened. A lot of trial balloons getting thrown out. And now we're just kind of sitting back and waiting for the wild cards. I just wonder if Latham does decide to run for the Senate, would that open the door to like a Jeff Mullen? Or, who just moved in? Vanderplaats.
Let's just anybody but Mullen. Anybody but Mullen.
Well, I was saying this over the weekend, in the new Iowa 3. Boswell says he's not running again. He's done. Now we'll see what happens if push comes to shove.
Boswell's getting up there, though. I mean, I don't.
Iowa. Well, again, Boswell shot himself in the foot. Not a lot of enthusiasm for the blue dog these days. It wasn't even a consistent blue dog. The label would go. The label would come back. And, when the Republicans were in charge of the House, he was very amiable to their needs. When Democrats took over, he'd be a consistent liberal voice. Thanks. I'll find someone better. I thought, and I know this is harder to do in a state that's not gerrymandered to hell. And this ties into what we'll talk about with the Tea Party later. I think it would have been a worthwhile use of resources. And this isn't something you do with the official party. But you find a Jeff Mullen. You find the next Ken Sorensen to primary that Rhino Boehner fan, Tom Latham, and you make sure that he has that Latham would have a well-funded and very well represented primary challenge. And I think you are going to see some more of that coming forward. 2014 is a very tough map for Democrats, especially in the Senate, considering, again, we won some seats in 2008 that we probably shouldn't have won. I mean, all things being equal, we wouldn't have won, but Barack Obama versus John McCain is not all things being equal. And it's going to be a tough map, and gamesmanship never hurt anybody. But it's going to be an interesting couple of months as people scurry for position. I think the Senate position is Bruce Braley's for the taking. It's kind of been the worst kept secret in Iowa politics that he was darn near salivating for that shot. and I think he's got enough friends to make that happen. Question is, again, who runs in Iowa 1? And I don't know, would the National Party support Tom Latham? He might be the best they can get for that sense. What's Chris Reed doing these days? All right, 244-0077. All are welcome. Some are capable. Email radiobradshaw@gmail.com and follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. Just go to thebradshawshow.com for almost all of your Bradshaw needs. When we come back, the Republicans may have found a 67% solution. Well, they'll try. I don't think it'll work. We'll talk about what the costs will be as the gang of 6, 8, 36, 24, 36, 5'3", whatever they're calling it these days, gets together. We'll explain when we return here on The Bradshaw Show on Webcast One Live. Thank you for watching. Back right after this.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershad.
I'm administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're gonna do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's gonna be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're gonna do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed right or it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you gonna say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're gonna be listening. They're gonna wanna know what your challenges are. Then they're gonna come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did was perfect. It was great.
Keep going though, I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm gonna take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed right or it's free or 100% money back.
enough said.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
from the Remax Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
It's time to start.
All the funk,
Rock
game
concert
changer.
number 1.
All right, Bradshaw with you straight up 2 o'clock here on a foggy Monday afternoon in the capital city. Turn in your headlights, people, or you deserve to die. Just don't take any of us, headlight-using folks with you. All right? Find the ditch on your own. I did drive by multiple people on 235 texting in traffic in the fog. Again, Darwin, you have failed us. No, the game changer has 125 likes so far. I assume this is brand spanking new. And I'm going to have to invoke Poe's Law here. For those of you who aren't familiar, Poe's Law, much like Hanlon's Razor or Godwin's Law, Poe's Law states that at some point it is impossible to discern between parody and fundamentalism. This is what the folks at The Onion live with on a daily basis. Don't believe me? Go to the website literallyunbelievable.com and see people's Facebook reactions from Onion stories, especially the Obama ones. Like, people will literally put, "I'm trolling for submissions for literally unbelievable." And people will still read a headline and freak out. But this is draft AJ Spiker for U.S. Senate. For those of you who aren't familiar with AJ, he is a Romulan. These are the Ron Paul supporters who have taken over the Iowa GOP. When Matt Strawn was forced to fall on his sword due to a botched caucus, AJ Spiker ended up as the head of the Republican Party of Iowa and proceeded to fill that state party with fellow raw milk loving, colloidal silver chugging Ron Paul devotees of horrible writing, Ayn Rand, racist newsletters. And so join us in standing with grassroots conservatives and encourage AJ Spiker to run for U.S. Senate. Yes, please do. It's a not sure if serious. I'm hoping this is a tongue-in-cheek joke about the incredibly incompetent current head of the Republican Party of Iowa. Seriously, thanks for the horrible fundraising. We on the Democratic side appreciate it greatly. Hopefully he can bring his, I was going to say leadership style, but dumpster fire starting style to U.S. Senate race. Oh, now that's funny. Oh. All right, so literally as we speak, a diverse group of U.S. senators are getting together to announce that they have the framework for a deal on immigration. This is DREAM Act. This is, yes, a path to citizenship. I would say overall this is a Republican capitulation. And it is something that is long overdue. Not just because, again, it has the odd property of being the right thing to do, in addition to good politics. And I call it the 67% solution because that's the percentage of the Latino vote that President Obama got. P.S. The Latino population in this country is getting larger, like Leon. Republicans have a serious problem. And they are, well, some of them are starting to realize this. Again, Mitt Romney pulled 27% of the Latino vote. And in 2016, the projected increase in the non-white electorate is another 2%. So again, this is a group that you are losing and is getting bigger. So here we have the group of 8, gang of 8. It used to be the gang of 6. Occasionally it'd be the group of Joe Lieberman. Thanks to arcane rules of the Senate. Especially when you're looking at, a 1 or 2 seat majority. But even now, in the era of the, filibuster now, filibuster forever. My apologies to George Wallace. A very small group of senators, sometimes, yes, just one, can bring everything to a halt. In Maine, Angus King is an independent. Right? And I'm sure part of his thinking when he originally planned to run was, look, whoever has the Senate is only going to have it by like a seat or 2. So I would be in a very strong position. I will caucus with whoever gives me the most influence. Now, thanks to Republicans being incompetent boobs, that's not the case. So he's okay. But when you're looking at a very closely divided Senate, one Joe Lieberman can, and I guess smart to a degree. What's Joe Lieberman doing these days? Sorry, something awful under a bridge. First got booted out of his party, and then literally got booted out of his own party. What is it? Like Connecticut's for Lieberman was actually taken over by an anti-Lieberman fan. But in this case, you're looking at Dick Durbin, Chuck Schumer from New York, Senator Bob Menendez, a Democrat from New Jersey who probably should never go to the Dominican again. In addition to the group of Republicans, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, Jeff Flake, who's a bit of a nut. And I think the name that confused a lot of people was Marco Rubio. He is the Tea Party darling in the Senate, who was on board with this plan. Now, again, you can always, dump out at the last minute and claim, oh, Democrats, they liberaled it up. But as of right now, go on Twitter and just search Rubio amnesty and go read the vitriol. I'm pretty sure it's the same on Facebook. But the Republican Party is going to have done, and then they do. I shouldn't say that. But understand when I mentioned the Republican Party, I'm talking, again, the guys who write the big checks, the guys who actually call the shots, realize they have a huge racism problem. They are off-putting, and they have been off-putting for a long time. Walter Mondale won 66% of the Latino vote. Walter Mondale. Bush put a huge dent in that and turned it a 50-50 proposition. But then the Tom Tancredos and the Steve Kings took over, and, well, we're back up to where we were, and then some, among a much larger group. Again, this isn't exactly unprecedented. At some point, Democrats had to eject the Dixiecrats. We did it loudly, we did it very forcefully, and we'll see how Republicans try to play this. But what you're seeing is an end of the othering of Hispanics. This might be, I'm sure this is not the approved sociological terming for it, but it's the whiting of Latinos in much the same way that, again, before it was Latinos, it was the Irish, need not apply, the Italians, the Germans, you name it. Pretty much anyone with their own like ethnic enclave in a big city, at some point was not considered, equal. Now, obviously, if you put an Irish need not apply sign in your window, you're probably going to get some strange looks and some strange bricks through that window. They were used as the other. The Irish are coming in and taking our jobs, et cetera, et cetera. This is the end of that for Latinos in this country, and a big step to normalization. George Lopez not being considered funny anymore. I don't know exactly all the ramifications. We got a long way to go. But this is how it has worked for other groups in this country. And at some point, again, you have to lose the xenophobia. At some point, the Democratic Party went from, to be elected in the South, you had to be a member of the Klan. Now, you don't actually have to light any crosses or wear a dunce cap in public, but you need to have the membership card. We are not long until, it would be as politically poisonous to have your picture taken with a Minuteman or Steve King as it was to be photographed at a Klan meeting. That's where we're headed. Now, how quickly we get there is determined by how badly Republicans lose elections on a national scale moving forward. Judging by what we're seeing today, that's pretty quick. So, today, Lindsey Graham and John McCain, who voted against the DREAM Act last time it came up, conveniently on Telemundo and Univision. Yeah, they broke into live programming to cover the vote. Now are signing up for a new and improved comprehensive immigration reform with a path to citizenship. Now, it's more than just, Chuck E. Cheese hand stamp welcome in. Again, the details are being laid out, and there's a lot of argument left to have. But the big thing to take away from today is, again, not only are you seeing even guys like Marco Rubio, again, make a big step, John McCain, Lindsey Graham, make a big step towards détente when it comes to immigration in this country. What's the Spanish word for perestroika? But I think these are the first steps in, again, rebuilding the Republican Party. And it's something that is going to need to be done, and something that's going to be very painful to do. The Southern strategy, all right, has been very effective and has certainly been melded into the current, Southern of the border strategy. And it gave a very loud voice to the Tom Tancredos and the Steve Kings and even the Peter Kings of the GOP. They took our gerbs. It's been a very potent force. Again, the problem is you're a Republican. You listen to Sean Hannity. You buy Sarah Palin books. You might have even read half of one. You're doing everything right. you are not successful, well, it's got to be somebody's fault because it's not yours. It's the other. All right, this isn't new by any means. But the latest target was Latinos, and that's coming to an end. We'll see how the I don't even know what to, the Republican base, these creatures of rage. I'm not trying to paint a caricature here. I'm not trying to mock. I'm trying to accurately represent what I read. Again, go read anything that Drudge links to that has a comment section. Go read any article on Obama, especially Michelle Obama, over at Fox Nation. I'm not even talking about like Stormfront or any of the really out there. I'm not talking like white pride sites. I'm not talking about any of that stuff. I'm talking about just average, everyday Republican/conservative websites. Go to Fox Nation, read the comments page. Go to Red State, read the comments page. Go to any of the Breitbart sites or Michelle Malkin's site. Go read what these people are. That's the Republican base. And I mean, just fire-breathing anger. And to a degree, not an absurd reaction to a world that is literally leaving them behind. By the way, it does that to every generation. But it's been very lucrative for the Malkins, for the Drudges, for the Breitbartians of the world. Again, not just to coddle, but to throw gasoline on, kerosene, thermite, and just get these folks just a white, hot, seething bed of rage. And to now, well, I don't know, pull that particular security blanket away. It is going to be costly. No one will argue that the Democrats didn't pay a severe electoral price for purging the racists. Country with two political parties. Well, they certainly didn't waste much time finding a new home. Which way is the South vote these days? For now. Again, the devil's always in the details, but it looks like a complete capitulation for the Steve Kings of the world. The only real hump, it seems, and this is what you're going to see the McCains and the Flakes and the Rubios run on. This is going to be their calling card. See, it's a conservative approach. It's actually not. So when you hear the Becks and the Hannitys and the Limbaughs spout this one off, and that is a commission, part of this process to citizenship, is a commission of Southwestern officials declaring the border secure. This would be like the Jan Brewers getting together and signing off, manager's approval, whatever. And a lot of liberals kind of went, oh, when they saw, how many fences do we need to build? Turns out, if you look at least the framework, and again, devil's always in the details, turns out this commission actually has no real say or no real influence. They can issue recommendations and doesn't specify what the recommendation means or triggers. It's just a do-nothing fob to the xenophobes. It's to try to appease the Steve Kings, or at the very least, give them something they can run with All right, it's the curtain to put in front of the little man that you're not supposed to pay any attention to. No, that wasn't a crack about Steve King being short. Again, we'll see if Republicans muck it up. But there's just part of me that wants to watch this bill pass in the House of Representatives with a majority of Republicans voting no. That sounds fun to me. But yeah, this is something Republicans have to do for the good, not just of the country, because let's be honest, the party of tax cuts for the rich really not down with that. But it's something we have to do moving forward to break the Tea Party fever on the right. Again, for as hackish as I think John McCain is, for as wingnutty as I think Rubio and Flake are, I get reserved judgment because there's a lot to still come out on this, and there's a lot of changes that are going to be made. But it takes some cojones to even float that trial balloon in a Republican Party full of Bushmasters and Bush voters just hankering for a rhino hunt. So credit where credit is due. Meanwhile, in Kentucky, and I bring this up because I think you're going to see more of it. Tea Party activists, again, the dead enders and the wackos and the devotees of your Breitbarts and your Glenn Becks demand purity to a level that even like Hitler would find a little like, guys, you're taking it a little too far. I mean, they demand absolute ideological purity in all things. In Kentucky, a group of big Democratic donors, local liberal activists, and a left-leaning super PAC have decided to, well, channel the energy, this white-hot rage of purity, and turn it against Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell to find a nut. We're going to use the Tea Party to find us a nut to primary McConnell. And again, this is a win-win for Democrats. You would have a Republican survive a bruising primary process. Or, the outside shot, you find yourself, America's next top Todd Aiken, or Richard Murdoch, or Christine O'Donnell. No one thought a guy like Dick Lugar would lose to a legitimate crazy person, but it happened. GOP, you made it happen, and for that, we thank you. Now, again, the Democratic Party of Kentucky, not officially doing this by any means, but again, in Iowa, if I doubt he would do it, but if a Jerry Crawford type, a Democrat, I got some cash behind me, I can make this happen. Go find some loons and wackos, and I think you will see more of this, especially if they're effective in again, grabbing a couple of potential. I don't know what's the effect. They're not really patsies. Maybe this is something that the folks at the liberal version of was it Dinner with Schmucks? Was that the name of the movie? We need to find some good schmucks, invite them to dinner, and see again what we come up with in Minnesota, against Franken. Let's someone get Jeff Mullen on the phone. Someone get Bob Vanderplatz on the phone. Let's find some wackos. Let's get him the exposure, and we'll let the Tea Party take care of the rest. So it's going on right now in Kentucky, and hopefully, yeah, this is something smart. Let's use, I don't know, I'm trying to be nice and diplomatic here, but the Republican Party, well, in Iowa we call them lagoons. Let's use them against them. Fair enough? And real quick before I got to scoot, this, just coming down today, Pete Williams over at NBC. The Boy Scouts of America, one of the nation's largest private youth organizations, is actively considering an end to its decades-long policy of banning gay scouts or leaders. Excuse me. According to scouting officials and outsiders familiar with internal discussions. Now, what this is a trial balloon. It was just this weekend. I was reading about a couple of scout troops who decided on their own to say, we don't discriminate. And for that bold stance, they were threatened with having their charter pulled from the National Boy Scouts of America organization. One little thing that all of those articles combined to the one thing that they all, even one happened here, one happened there, the one thing they all talked about was how donations are down. And Pete Williams gets to this. There's about 50 local United Way groups and several corporations and charities have concluded that this ban on gay scouts and gay scout masters violates their non-discrimination requirements and have ceased providing financial aid to the Boy Scouts. The Human Rights Campaign announced that support for the Boy Scouts will cost groups and businesses their non-discrimination ratings. Kind of like the NRA. We're going to downgrade your rating if you're giving money to this group that actively discriminates. And it's a very funny thing in this world how deeply held beliefs tend to melt away when money's involved. Just in the last 2 weeks, we've seen a Catholic hospital argue that a fetus is not a person. Now, they're correct in this sense, but for years, Catholic dogma has been that a fetus is a person. In fact, they've worked very hard and spent a lot of money, wasted, to try to make that the law of the land. Until they're facing a lawsuit saying that through malpractice they let both a mother and twins die. Now all of a sudden, when money's involved, fetus, not a person. I don't think it's a coincidence that you see not just groups donating cash, but in some school districts, as more and more come forward with anti-discrimination policies. Schools, there are many who can't let the Boy Scouts meet. They discriminate, we don't allow discrimination, etc. The world is changing very quickly around them. At some point, somebody did the math. For as much as, say, an organization like the Mormon Church almost uses the Boy Scouts as an unofficial, youth group for the church. Mormon churches push, join the Boy Scouts, join the Boy Scouts, join the Boy Scouts. In predominantly Mormon areas, you'll find a lot of Mormon scoutmasters. And I was never in the Boy Scouts because, frankly, I could play with fire on my own. I didn't need supervision for this, and I hate camping. Sorry, I like going to the bathroom indoors. That's just how I roll. But it seems there's a wide variation. Your scouting experience is greatly determined by your scoutmaster. For some, it's basically vacation Bible school with the occasional sleepover in a forest, and for others, it's John Rambo in training. But at some point, they decided someone had to have run the numbers and say, yeah, we're going to lose, say, some support from the Mormon Church. But overall, the discrimination is a money loser, and this is the trial balloon. Because what the Boy Scouts of America says is that we're going to leave it to the local. So if you're in, I don't know, Deliverance, Kentucky, or in Ned Beatty, Georgia, or Dueling Banjos, Alabama, my guess is the policy won't change. For now. The next step, of course, a few years down the line, is to quietly just remove that line from the national charter and join the rest of us in the 21st century. And to that, we say fabulous. All right, email me, radiobradshaw@gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/radiobradshaw. And we'll reconvene tomorrow at 1:30 here on The Bradshaw Show, thebradshawshow.com. Brought to you by Webcast One Live. I will see you tomorrow. Until then, drive with your headlights on and be safe. See ya.